Welcome to the DYNAMO Show. I am your host, James Erdt, the Chief Architect of WOW for DYNAMO Entrepreneur, where we support entrepreneurs in living well and doing good. Predominantly speakers, authors, internet marketers, coaches, all kinds of experts that are movers and shakers that are here to guide and teach you. Today we have one of those entrepreneurs, Pierre Lalande.
James,
my good friend, how are you?
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for coming to the show. I'm such a fan of your work. You know, I can't wait to get into my own consultation, but we'll get into that in a second.
Sure we will.
So what we'll do is we'll take it back a notch, okay? We'll take it back to your younger years. I know you had some big game-changing stuff going on in your teens, predominantly around the 18, 19-year mark. Why don't you share that with us?
Well, one of the things I like to share always is probably the most important advice my mother ever gave me when I left my small town of Sturgeon Falls when I was 18 years old.
Okay, yeah.
Coming to the big city, my mom was, obviously very concerned and took me aside, and she doesn't do that often in that sense, but she said, you got to listen to me. And I said, fine. She says, if you ever find yourself in Toronto, you're not feeling great, you're not emotionally right or absolutely in a good place, and you're having a hard time. I said yes, assuming she was going to say, come home. So she explains to me and expresses that. She says, just remember, Pierre, you're doing something wrong. And I was so shocked at that response. It's the last response I ever expected to get. And from that day on, I have to admit, I've always asked myself that question whenever I find myself in a bind, whenever I find myself not feeling well, whether it be emotionally or a part of my life that's just not totally right on. And I always get the answer, I've got to tell you. So that for me was a big thing that allowed me to take responsibility for myself for the rest of my life, and that changed my life. That was a game changer for me.
It is. I love it.
And I still use it every day.
Now, back in the day, I know you were in the modeling industry. You know, I grew up around the modeling world. My mother was a big, icon in the fashion industry, and there's a lot of good and not so good and desirables and undesirables in that industry. I know you worked for Chanel.
Well, we did one of the Chanel commercials.
Yeah.
At the same time, the experience of modeling, for me, I'm quite an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Very ambitious.
Yeah.
And therefore, waiting around for a call or being at someone else's mercy.
Been there, done that.
Yes, just could not work for me. So my entrepreneurship of using my artistic abilities and my skills just allowed me to continue this venture and come up with this incredible tools to help the world, and one of them, especially in the world of color, because that's
I know you're
what
a color
I do.
theorist.
Everything about it is.
I was a color theorist after I came out of specialty painting school. Before I went into graphic design, I became a color theorist. So I studied the 16 million colors, not necessarily how they react to human beings, such as yourself, but more your emotions. Okay, so you're talking more about the outside and how it appears, and I'm talking more about how your emotions connect. Right? So share a little bit more about that when you got into entrepreneurship.
Well, I'm actually emotions first as well.
Okay.
Absolutely. We're on the same page.
There you go.
Because color, it affects every individual one, you know, emotionally and absolutely, and it's extremely accurate.
Yes.
So this is not something that I use by random or by chance. It's actually scientifically proven.
Okay.
And the system that I've created is really designed to help individuals choose color. So therefore they can align their purpose and their intentions for the day.
For the day?
For the day, actually, with clarity.
Day in, day out.
Without sending any mixed messages or mixed signals.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very, very effective way of sort of achieving your goals as well, and using it in business, on a personal level, and on all aspects. Color is really, really, really powerful. And one of the goals that we are, you know, achieving right now with the color DNA system is truly bringing people back to their roots.
The roots.
So intuitively, how to use color accurately to get the results that you want out of life.
Wow.
And using the system as the recommendations and allowing people to basically notice the difference is so important, because the ability to measure your results is what actually keeps you inspired to constantly keep using the color system.
Now I know it emotionally, you know, keeps you healthy when your colors are in tune, we'll call it. What about physically?
Well, physically, some people, you know, can be emotionally, they can be emotionally fragile. Some people suffer anxiety as well. So for example, understanding how color is working accordingly on us is, and effectively, and what I mean by that is the same exact color will have the absolute opposite effect on somebody else than yourself. And I do mean extreme opposites.
Yeah.
And therefore, someone who is feeling, let's say, anxious, there are certain colors that are based upon, you know, emitting as well an emotion of restfulness and harmony. So knowing that, putting that on, getting a sense of that feeling actually makes a huge difference. And it's not only for yourself, it's also for others. As you do that and you apply that onto yourself, you can measure the results of people's reactions towards you. And when that connection is done, wow, life becomes a lot more simpler.
And more fun.
And more fun.
More fun, and how people react to you. You know, how's my mint green with my haircut?
Well, this mint green with your haircut works well. Actually, Glad, it's just, you put this on. Before, when I came in, you had more of a natural neutral shirt, and the color wasn't
offset, getting ready.
And the color wasn't I felt wasn't the ideal color for you. And I said to myself, I mean, it's hard to keep James in myself. It takes my concentration away if I have to talk to you in that color. Right now with what you're wearing.
So how do you figure it out?
So it's simple. It's very simple for everyone to actually access it. So first, how we identify
without you around.
That's right.
Okay.
So how we identify someone's color profile in DNA. Okay. It's done by taking a photograph of your inner wrist.
Inner wrist.
Inner wrist.
Wrist. Okay.
And eye color. Done in natural daylight.
In natural daylight. Okay.
That is emailed to us.
Oh, neat.
And we do all the work from there.
That's it.
And then simple. we analyze an individual's RGB tones. That allows us, it's red, green, and blue tones, that allows us to identify which exactly the pigmentation is best represented by the colors we recommend, and their eye pigmentation as well. And it's 100%, you know, fail proof.
I love it.
And it's something that people can rely, trust, and most important, you know, measure the results. Because this is what empowers individuals. Being told that this works or that works, or use this color because it's supposed to be good, those days are over. Today people want to know. They want to be, you know, their own personal color experts.
It's true. I mean, now with social media and the whole selfie generation and it just being out there, you know, everybody wants to look good. Everybody is on camera in some way, shape, or form. There's no such thing as privacy anymore. Now, why do you do what you do? Is there a big why behind it?
Well, I do, yes. I actually, obviously, just a little bit that we've talked about, it's changing people's lives.
It is.
There's a big gift in
I can see you're passionate about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, there's a big gift in the color DNA.
Yes.
Is once I've made people aware of what looks best on them, and they can start to measure the results about it.
Yeah.
The gift is in this.
Yes.
Is not only do they start paying attention to details more about their colors, but automatically it helps their attention to details in business, attention to details in their personal life.
Yeah.
So it just keeps expanding. And it's just that awareness, that's the gift that keeps on giving. And what I do, as opposed to what truly I get a real sense of passion out of it, I have to admit, it's the youth. And the youth today are very challenged in the sense of finding their identity. There's so much bullying going on. They want to be accepted.
We have that in common, my friend.
You know?
How can they get a hold of you? If you were to share with our viewers how they can actually get a hold of you, whether they're an adult or a youth, 30 seconds, why don't you share?
PierreLalande.com, and it's right there on the website. You can email your photos at authenticate@LalandeColorDNA, and we take it from there. And any information more anyone wants to know, it's great. So the youth as well is, very good. That's what it's about.
Thank you, sir, so much for coming on the show. I'm grateful to have you. I'm James Erdt. I'm the host of the Dynamo Show, and we will be right back after this short commercial break. Welcome back to the Dynamo Show. This is episode 14. I am James Erdt, your host, and without further ado, we are going to get things going with Mr. Everold Reid.
How you doing?
Hello.
Good
I am awesome. It's great to have you on the show. We have a mutual friend, Howard Morton, and I am just a big fan already of some of the work you do. I checked you out online, and I've been in sales all my life. But before we get into all that, okay, let's talk about the younger years. Let's take it back in the day. Care to share a little bit about some of the mountains you overcame to become this fascinating sales guru?
Well, I don't know about guru, but it all started when I was really a teenager, 18, 19, going into a Toyota store, and I always say they made a mistake of hiring me. I'm like, why did they hire me? I knew nothing about sales. But it started from there, and I'm a quick learner, practical learner. So, when you're talking about cars and meeting with people and having to deal with people every day, I quickly learned that it was more about relationships. Right?
Business is relationships.
And developing relationships and developing trust. And from there, that's how my career started. And first year I didn't do very well. And I'm like, why did they still keep me in? But by the second year, I kind of figured it out. And then it spiraled from there.
Now I know you come from the Caribbean, right?
Jamaica.
In fact, I had my honeymoon back in the Grill, back in the day. Bloody Bay, I love it.
Love the beaches.
One of the most beautiful beaches around.
Food.
Love the people. The food is exceptional.
Food, people,
obviously. Laid back style. Did any of that influence any of your decisions as you came over from the islands and stuff like that? Did you ever go back? Did you do any business there?
I'm actually there quite often. Last year 6 times, this year once or twice so far, and looking forward to going back again very soon. But growing up in Jamaica is kind of the best of both worlds. You get to have some very good experiences growing up with my great-grandmother actually, while my mom was here in Canada trying to make a living and then preparing for me to come over to Canada. So, some good fundamentals, some good basics, independence, taking the bus when I was 6, 7 years old myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because, back then you were, you learned. You either learned or you stay home.
That's right.
So, going to school and graduating and actually getting a scholarship when I was 9 and a half to go to high school.
Woo!
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
I guess she was pretty influential in your life.
Yeah.
Any other big key influences? Who would you say are some of your idols?
Well,
icons growing up.
Well, growing up would be be, you know, a couple of my aunts and my uncles, because, you know, from a parental perspective, you know, my mom was away working to provide for me, but at the same time I lived with my aunts and uncles who were great influence. They were teachers and police officers, so I kind of grew up in this, you know, I wouldn't say protected, but structured environment, disciplined environment where, you know, you learn to make good choices and build. And then from a career perspective, my biggest influence was one of my former bosses who owned a major Toyota and Lexus dealer in Mississauga. And after I started there
at the Auto Mall,
that was when the Auto Mall was just coming up. You know, there was one, you know, there were two in Mississauga, and it was kind of the new thing for
that style. Compiling them all together.
Marketing. It was absolutely. You know, I remember sitting in the committees where we would do all the marketing. To bring more people, you know, all the dealerships would get together and do one ad.
Oh, for real? I didn't know that.
And have a big sale, because...
So they all get along?
Oh, absolutely. Well, at least to get the people to the mall. Once they're there, then it's everybody for themselves. Right? Gotcha. But this gentleman, you know, at age 21, pulled me in his office, and they were doing some restructuring, and said to me, do you want to become an assistant manager? And the first question I asked him was, am I going to make less money? Because you always heard that if you're a good salesperson, you make more money than managers. So that was my first question to him. And but I trusted him. And I accepted the position. And then within a year of being the assistant manager, I was promoted to being the full manager, and led that store to selling the first 100 cars in a single month. And then proceeded to win the Toyota National Grandmaster Sales Manager Award in 1995.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Now, I know you've sold a whack of cars over your career.
Whack of cars,
It's a big number, like 5, 6, 7,000.
It's over 7,000.
7,000
And I've managed sales teams that have done thousands.
I'm sure you had some nice demos.
Oh yeah, I just have one right outside right now.
Right on. So did all this kind of pave the way for your entrepreneur type, you know, business? Because I know you're a sales master and you're a sales leader, and you have the new book out. You know, care to share a little bit about the book? Oh, the
book is amazing. I you know, after 26 years
you know something.
You figure you know something by now, right? So, you know, of not just automotive sales, but advertising and marketing for 8 years, traveling the continent, you know, meeting all types of really interesting people, and that's how you learn. So I discovered more for the 8 years that I traveled into different communities about sales and business than I did while I stayed in one market. Because you got to understand different people in different markets, and ultimately the reason why people make a buying decision. And that was, you know, because of you, who you are, who they trust, how you come across, and if they like you and you like your product, they'll buy from you.
And it's wild because you got all that experience in the corporate sector. So what's feeding your entrepreneurial side is all that information and those sales and that really real world, you know, stuff that you can now compile into a book or into your coaching services, which is absolutely great for those viewers that are actually watching, that are stuck in the job, that are stuck in the corporate industry, that want to take that leap. Do you have any advice for them if they're looking to take that leap?
Absolutely. Personal development. You have to invest in yourself. Okay, and that's one of the things I learned at a later, you know, stage in life. Read books. If you're interested in being a financial advisor, read books on how to save money or to invest money. If you're interested in sales or technology, study that stuff. Personal development is key. Going to seminars, investing in yourself, and being passionate about what you want to sell or serve or offer as a service. You have to pick something that you actually love. Okay, in order
passionate about it.
Absolutely, because that comes through in your emotion to your prospective buyer, and that's what they're buying. They're buying your emotion as well.
It's true. It's true. Now, do you have a big why that fuels all these wonderful passions of yours to sell?
I like the thrill of making the deal. Okay,
good.
That's about it for me. But I
Closing
also
the deal or
I like,
the journey?
a little bit of both. I like a little bit of the journey leading up to it.
Yeah,
you know,
the hunt.
The hunt, and ultimately when they sit down and say, well, I never thought about it that way, but here I am buying. Because what you want your clients, to leave with is totally a different expectation, and that you've exceeded their expectations, and that you just didn't lay down and say, okay, let me accept what you say you want to do, but you gave them options, you gave them alternatives, and alternatives and options is key.
It is key.
You're educating your consumer. And that's how they build.
That you care.
Yeah.
They don't care until they know that you care.
That's right.
Right, and that builds repeat business.
That's right.
I'm sure a lot of your clients come back year after year after year.
Yeah, we do a lot of business, and we
after
actually
what, 2 decades now?
2 and a bit? Yeah, 2.5 decades, and I still have clients from 25 years ago.
Oh wow!
Absolutely.
Wow.
That will call me, even if they're not buying a product or service from me. They will actually call to ask my advice.
Oh, great.
And that is key.
That is
the kind of relationship you. Oh, absolutely.
You have that abundance mentality versus scarcity. Maybe they go from Toyota to Ford, or from Ford to Maserati, or whatever.
Yeah, it's trust and confidence.
Yeah. Now, do you get involved with any sort of charities?
Absolutely. One of my favorite is the Mike Pinball Clemens Foundation.
I know Mike Pinball.
Mike is a
great
friend of mine.
Kitchen the other day.
Yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful house.
I have a beautiful house.
His backyard is stellar.
It's I haven't been to the new one yet, but I'm. We talked last week, and we were due to hook up, and he actually wrote the foreword to my book.
I love it.
So
That's amazing.
Mike and I spend some good quality time together. He's he's a great leader. He's a great friend. And does so much for children and people in the world.
Good
and
for you. I do a lot for kids too. And now how do they find Everold? How do our viewers connect with you? Very quick.
www.thereidmethod.com. Sign up for my weekly blogs and tips. And any other information, you can drop me an email, everold@thereidmethod.com.
I love it. Thank you so
much,
much,
sir.
I love it. I love it. This is episode 14 of the Dynamo Show. I am James Erdt, and we will be back right after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Dynamo Show. This is episode 14, where we support entrepreneurs in living well and doing good. We support them by allowing them to share their stories so they can empower you to do the same. We have movers, shakers, and doers, and boy, do we have one today. His name is Mr. Howard Morton.
Hey, James, how you doing?
Dear friend of mine. Howard is actually one of my coaches, my mentors. I've learned so much for you, and I'm so grateful for everything that you've done for me in my personal life. So this is my little give back to you, to share you with the world and get to know you a little bit better. Before we get into business, and you've helped me so much in not only my business but my personal life, I know you have a really solid story. Okay, let's take it back. Let's take it back to some of those mountains that you've moved and those rivers that you've swam. Where did it all start?
Oh my goodness. You know, it probably started for me when I was about 12 years old.
Yeah.
There was this guy that I grew up, my dad was an art director, and so when I was 12, I was going to trade shows all over the place. And you know what inspires me is challenges.
Yeah.
I love a challenge.
Yeah.
This guy, his name is Art. He was my mentor.
Okay, great.
And so Art quit his company, moved from Montreal to Toronto, built a business out of the basement of his house, and then he put his old company out of business.
His old company.
His old company. And so I looked at that, and it was like, for me, it's always been about challenges. It's always about pushing yourself to the limit, whether it's business or it's racing cars.
Yeah.
And you know, James, you and I both have that in common.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
We do. A little bit of a speed freak in here.
Oh, you bet. And you know what? And what I love about it is it's just getting out on the course. It's the precision. It's the passion. It's risk, right?
Being on point.
You know, adrenaline junkie. I love taking risks. You're out there spinning out the car at 120.
Yeah.
You know, I remember one of the second times I went racing, they said, average driver does the course in 40 seconds. Good driver does it in 30 seconds. Our pro does it in 25.3. And I heard that, and a little alarm bell went off in the back of my head.
Yeah.
You know, first time I took the course, hadn't driven it 32 seconds. Not bad. End of the day, I was lapping 27 seconds flat.
Nice.
Now think about this. I am 80 pounds heavier than that driver, and I'm at least 6 inches bigger than him. So I'm looking at this going, there's no way I can get to his piece. But for me, it's about pushing myself. I love that.
Yeah. And when you were younger, like in your teens, were you already kind of pushing yourself in business, or did it start more corporately? Did it go into entrepreneurship right away? Was there any big challenges that you had as a youngster?
You know what? We all had challenges.
Yeah.
We all had challenges. You know, it's funny, growing up as a kid, my parents, I lived in the city, and so my dad would always be like, hey, we got to toughen you up, right? So send me up north, we do.
So were they strict?
No, they were pretty laid back, but they would send me away. So send me up north, get rid of the kid for like 6 months up north, doing canoeing.
How far up north?
Oh my goodness, near North Bay. So we were up there.
Yeah.
But
portaging.
Oh yeah, but the big thing was they'd send me off to the farm, and I'd be like, farm?
Yeah.
And so I grew up working on a turkey farm.
Okay.
And what it told me from a personal experience is you got to get your hands dirty if you want to succeed.
Yeah.
And so I remember going into this farm, and there's like 20,000 birds, and it was just like mind-boggling. But you know what? You do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And you learn to do whatever it takes.
Great lesson.
And you know, whether it's fixing stuff, shoveling manure, it set me off. In fact, it's helped me with today, right? Because it was a turkey farm. I still work with turkeys, and I still shovel manure for a living, right, James?
I hope you're not referring to all us turkeys.
Oh no.
You know? Yeah, I know. I mean, I know you've done so much in your career. You know, it's been so vast, and you've had a lot of career changes, you know, over the years, which kind of formulates, you know, who you are and what you're doing right now, and why you can serve people like us. You're kind of an expert for the experts, you know. I'm a messenger for the messengers. You're an expert for the experts. What would you say to, let's say, some of our younger viewers that are watching? Because I know you've had so much experience. What would you say to the younger viewers, you know, when they're taking that step into entrepreneurship? Anything to share on that note?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a few things to look at. First of all, be crystal clear about what you're doing. Be really concise. Second thing is get your message down. I don't need to know how the watch is made. I just need to know what time it is.
Yeah.
Right? So make it simple. Know your numbers. Know how you make money. If you don't know how you make money quickly and easily, you're dead. The other thing is it's all about experience today. You know, with the internet, things happen way faster than it happened back in the day when I started my career 30 years ago, right? So suddenly you have to be really focused on how you connect with people. It's all about connection.
It is, it is. Now, were you connecting a lot when you were younger, like in your teens, your 20s, your 30s? Because I know you're a massive networker and you have a massive contact database.
Yeah.
Was it always like that?
You know what? I was pretty fortunate. I worked with a lot of associations, a lot of people, and it just kind of came naturally. You know, there's nothing more simple. It's just sticking out your hand saying, hey, I'm Howard. What are you all about? And stepping back and listening. You don't actually have to be the center of attention. You learn more by listening and hearing what they have to offer, and you'd be surprised.
One of the things that I'm a big fan of regarding yourself is your passion for it. You know, I was watching you do coaching on somebody else the other day, and it's almost like art. It's almost like you're watching you like you're a painter. It's like you have this blank canvas in front of you, and you're coaching somebody how to do business. But it's like you're so fluid. It's like there's an art form to how you do it. Care to share why and how does that, you know, impact you? How do you do it that way?
Well, you know, it's funny. I have been so fortunate to work with some great people over the years. And to me, it's about helping take their business to the next level. So what we actually do is I do some of the business heavy lifting so that they can innovate. That's exciting. You know, the most important moment for me is watching somebody and that light bulb goes on and they suddenly see how they can get to that next level. That's really gratifying and it's really cool. But what you have to do is you have to give them a game plan, you put a roadmap in place and keep them focused. I'm like the North Star for their business. Think about that, the compass. You always know you're headed in the right direction because you always are headed north. Otherwise, you go off track. So my job is to keep people accountable and make sure they stay focused.
Now, does this work for startups?
Oh, absolutely. You know, in fact, 2 of the best years of my life were spent at Mars, where I helped 2 startup companies raise $750,000 for one company, helped another company get sold out to Google. And so, you know, that's probably one of my most proud moments. I mean, hell, selling a business out to Google is something you don't do that often. And startups, again, it boils down to discipline. Yes. Everybody's good at something. Imagine this. James, have you ever flown a plane?
I'm on my way to getting my pilot's license, and the answer is still steered it when it was in the air, but for maybe like 10 seconds.
There you go. Right? So you had a co-pilot. Yes. So what a lot of people need is they need that co-pilot. Yeah. I'm their business co-pilot. I work with them, and I let them take the controls when they're ready, and then I watch them take flight.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What was your first job, just out of curiosity? Back in the day, way back.
Oh my God, my first job, and I got fired in 2 days. You know what it was? I worked at Carlton Cards on the midnight shift, I was gluing the little messages inside the card.
Oh boy, and they fired you.
You know what, I'm not a conformist. Apparently I couldn't get it straight. I like the color outside the lines, and I'm just one of these people where I just hate conformity. That's why I'm an entrepreneur.
And what was next? What was your next job?
Let's see. Actually, the next job was I actually worked in the machine tool business.
Okay.
Tool and die? So tool and die, CAD CAM. Like we were there when the Space Arm was being built, been on auto plant floors, you name it. And you know, I was lucky. I was a kid. I was like 23. I had a team of 10, and they put me on the executive committee. I had no business being on that committee, but I'll tell you, it was probably some of the best experience of my life. I learned business in the trenches, and I learned the consequences of making decisions too quickly and sometimes without the right information.
One of the reasons I asked that question, once again, for those younger viewers that are actually watching the show, you know, we all start somewhere. It's all little baby steps until we get this vast array of experience. You know, and then there's experience and then there's passion, right? And as long as you can combine the both of them together, which you clearly do. Any final words before we go to commercial break for that younger viewer?
You know what? I'll come back to it. Pride, passion, and precision are critical.
Okay, perfect.
But focus is most important. Stick to one thing, do it really well, and do it with a focus that's going to drive results.
Boom.
Boom.
Very good, very good. I'm James Erdt. This is the Dynamo Show. We are on set with Howard Morton. More to come. Welcome back. This is the Dynamo Show, and I am James Erdt. We are on set with Howard Morton. We're going to continue our conversation. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is energy. Energy, health, recharging. Now, you and I, we work a lot. Okay, we work a lot of hours, you know. Sometimes that's great, sometimes that's not so great. Sometimes we feel like we're a 10 in energy, sometimes we feel like we're a 1. Okay, where do you feel right now? Just out of curiosity.
I am a 10 plus. I'm vibrating with energy.
Wow, I was a 9, but now I'm a 10.
Woo, yeah.
Picking up some of that passion. Now, share a little bit about your secrets of how you stay energized.
You know what? There's a lot of things. We've already touched on racing, so I'll skip that one. Working out. Working out. I listen to heavy metal when I work out.
Nice. What kind of bands?
Oh, Limp Bizkit, Skinny Puppy, Nine Inch Nails. Anger is an energy to me. Johnny Lydon, Sex Pistols.
Right on.
So to me, it's about pumping yourself up. But I love traveling, experiencing different cultures. I speak in parts of 6 languages.
Okay.
And so speaking languages helps expand the brain.
Yeah.
And it helps get you focused. And the biggest part for me is really reading, staying fresh. I probably read 6 to 10 books a month. Now with Kindle, I can take my books anywhere with me. Cut and paste, copy, use it with my clients, and it's awesome because the moment you stop learning, you're dead. You got to keep learning.
Now you're talking about books. You know, I'm a huge fan of this transition from paper to ebooks.
Yeah.
Do people actually read ebooks like they do regular books?
You know what? It's funny. I read ebooks differently, and I started doing it about probably 2-3 months ago. And I was like, I don't want to buy a device to read a book.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I was like, well, wait a second. I can put the app on my tablet. And then I went, wait, I can highlight it like I could before.
You can.
I can see through Wikipedia cool stuff that other people are interested. That's neat.
Yeah.
And I can crop and take messages and then use it with my client. Well, I can't do that with a book. I'm too lazy. I'd have to go and type it out. This way, it's right there.
I love it. I've seen your library. It's quite vast, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll be swinging by someday to borrow some of those books. I love it. I love it. Let's talk Business Accelerator.
Absolutely.
Care to share?
Sure. You know, it's actually funny. People often ask me, Business Accelerator, what's that? You know what? That's a term I made up. I don't know whether it's new, old, whatever. But what we do is I help people get to their end goal faster. You know, it's basically being that person that helps them along the way to drive forward, working in different industries and really connecting the dots for them. The big piece about it is holding people accountable, right, James?
Yes, yes.
And
it's true. It's true.
Yes, I hold James accountable, but it's putting measurable...
For my own good.
For your own good, but it's putting measurable plans in place and getting folks to push the stuff off to the side that's not important. Because when you do that, people's businesses can take off. Because today, many people have too much stuff on the go. You got to shorten that bench. Focus on what you need to do to succeed.
You know one of the best tips you ever gave me?
What's that?
Learn to say no.
Oh yeah.
Care to share that with our viewers, because you know I'm a yes guy, you know, and it's killed me over the years. I've just, you know, I started a whole bunch of different projects thinking like, okay, I'll throw a whole bunch of stuff against the wall. If anything works, it'll be great. Everything worked. Now I got all these opportunities that are like, you know, that I've agreed to in some way, shape, or form, and there's only so much of me. And I said no for the first time this week, and I feel really good about it. So thank you for that.
Good for you.
Thank you for that. It's a big one, too.
Good for you. In fact, I said no to you one time.
You did.
But we're back here today.
You bugger.
Oh, you know what? Here's the thing. Saying yes is the easiest thing to do. It is. You know what? You're flattered by the opportunity, but guess what happens? You're distracted. It means you do that much less of a job on what you're doing today, and it takes you off your path. You have to be really clear as to where you're headed. Do you make a difference? And if it's something else that's an add-on, what falls off the plate? Because everything else you put on your plate, something's got to give. Is it your family life? Is it your kids? Is it your business? Is it the profitability? So saying no is difficult, but it's one of the most important things that I can say to a business owner.
That's a great tip. Now I know you spent a ton of time in mergers and acquisitions. Okay, this is your chance to brag a little bit. Let's talk about some companies that maybe our viewers know, so they understand the scope of who Howard Morton is. Okay, what do you look for in a business when you're doing M&A?
So you know what, I've been pretty fortunate, James. I've worked on about 50 acquisitions, looked at 250 companies, took one division of Bell from 450 million up to 800 million in 33 months.
Nice.
I was lucky, very fortunate. We did 10 acquisitions. Not everything works well, but this is what I look for. Number one is repeatability, recurring revenues. You should have at least 1/3 of your income, passive income, coming in time and time again. Critical. Number two, they've got a clear, concise, simple story. We touched on that earlier.
True.
Number three, profitable. Got to make at least 40 to 50% gross margin. If you're not doing that, it's not worth being in business. The next thing, your most important asset, James, walks in and out of the door every single day. It's your people. So they got to have good people that are along for the ride. And the last part is, it's got to be a business that can grow. If there's upside, it's worth getting into. If there is an upside and management doesn't have a vision or is just a me too, it's not worth doing.
I love it. I love it. Now, you're a big fan of like looking at businesses and maybe dissecting them, we'll call it, and recreating them or redesigning them or reinventing them. Some tips maybe for our viewers today, how they can reinvent themselves or their business.
Well, you know, it's funny. A lot of people say, how do I reinvent? And I'm going to say, don't. You're going to say, what do you mean don't? Right? I tell people, dig harder, dig deeper. Figure out what you can focus on. Why release product 2.0 if 1.5 isn't selling? Figure out what the customer wants before you diversify. It's focus, saying no. So what you're looking at instead is, how do I build a better experience? In today's world, it's all about experience.
It is.
Look at Starbucks came after Tim Hortons, right?
It's true.
But people pay 3 times as much for Starbucks than they did for Tim Hortons.
I'm guilty of that.
I am too. But it's because it's a better experience. So don't diversify. Make your experience better. Make your experience memorable. Just like the Dynamo Entrepreneur Show.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hello. Now, with having such a pretty much kick-butt corporate career,
Yep.
why leave? Why did you get into entrepreneurship when, by the sounds of it, it was going so well for you?
You know, after you've scaled that mountain, taken the business to 800 million, it's like, what next? And so I get a thrill out of helping young entrepreneurs, watching them grow. And the other part is, it's about the variety. I get bored really easily. I probably had ADD before they coined the term ADD. You know what? I'm pretty sure you might have it too there, James.
You think?
Yeah, just maybe. But anyways, it's really about working in different areas, and it gives me a chance to express my creativity that I couldn't do in corporate life. I was tired of pushing paper. I'd rather push profits.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. So let's say today is your last day on Earth. You're in front of the pearly gates of the universe, you know, and you're about to leave a message for humanity. Why don't you share with our viewers 3 nuggets that you would share with us if this was the last day of your existence? What did you learn?
Wow.
Real quick, you got a minute.
Deep. I think the first thing that I learned over my career is it's not what you know, it's who you know, and it's how you use your network to drive results. How you use your network. I have 7,500 contacts in my phone. It's how I use those people and how I build on that. That's critical. Second piece is, it's about listening. Too many people in sales, too many people in marketing are spending their time telling. The more you listen, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you earn. Right?
I'm listening.
And the third piece is about balance. Remember the people that help get you there. You know, whether it's my beautiful wife, Sandra, whether it's my kids, whether it's my great mentors, always be grateful and express gratitude every day, because if you have an attitude of gratitude, the world and universe will deliver more to you.
I love it. I love it. And maybe one big nugget for those young entrepreneurs.
You know what? As a young entrepreneur, it's pretty simple. If you think you can't do it, just do it. Take risks.
Take action.
If you don't take action and you sit on the sidelines, the world will never know your potential. Take risks, as Nike says, just do it.
Just do it. I took action to have Howard Morton on my show. What a fantastic guest. I am honored to be working with you and to be learning from you, being guided by you. You have such a lovely, gentle style. It's so unique. How can they find you?
You know what? It's pretty simple. Go to www.bia-inc.com.
That's it. I am James Erdt. This is the Dynamo Show, episode 14. Movers, shakers, doers. We will see you on the next episode.